joke, okay? This is just letting y'all know.
Wait, hold up.
I don't have.
Let me go put some. Hold up. Let me go put some Grand Marnier in my coffee. Hold
Please. Hey, we're gonna wait for you.
Hey, Dr. Wyatt. I'm Dr. Jones. I've seen and heard so much about you. I really do admire the work that you're doing. So I just wanted to tell you.
Well, thank you, sir. Well, I should get to know you then, right? I should have to know you. So we got to make that work.
I do not claim to know and to be as successful as you guys.
I'm Andrea Hurd. I am CEO, founder of A&H Consulting, education and management consultant firm. Also a professor now at Southern University in the Division of Education, where I'm able to help our new teachers become certified, become the teachers that they want to be. And that's currently what I'm doing, helping parents, helping other teachers get into full swing with virtual learning.
Tell us about the wonderful Tubery.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kimmy Tubery, an educator at the University of New Orleans, but currently on hold due to COVID. I'm an author and I'm a professional writer, probably first. Like I started writing over a decade ago. I write for Where You At magazine currently, but I freelance for so many people. It's kind of countless.
She wrote my bio.
I bios.
Over lunch and cocktails.
Shameless plug. No, I write bios, but how I come into education. Well, I work for the international school at the international department at UNO. So we work with international students, which is why my job is on hold right now. Travel is not happening. Visas are not being given, and so we don't have any new students coming in. But I also work and have been working virtually in China. I've been doing it for going on 4 years. So even before it was like a big deal that a lot of people are doing. So I think with that, I've already had to be exposed to virtual learning from that standpoint, just not locally. And I saw early on how it works and how it can be effective and ineffective. Like it's amazing
two sides. To see my sister live a life beyond, and that's you don't give yourself enough credit, girl.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. I mean, listen, let me see how much time we got, because I could give you a whole 35 minutes if I can calculate it up right. We can't write them all up, but we could show, send them a notice. Come on, sis. You look pretty.
So thank you. I did this for you. Listen, it's so good to see y'all. As Ms. Hurd, it's so dope to be on here with you. And Kimmy, I don't know you well, but listen, I think you're somebody I need to know.
Same, ditto.
So that's the love over there. And Dr. Jones, I'm sure I'll come over to Kennedy and get to know you as well. So
absolutely.
It's good to be here. I'm Ashanta. I actually am now transitioning into consulting work. I am the chief consultant at A. Wyatt Solutions Group. We're a professional services consulting firm, so we don't just do education. Even though I do a lot of work around education, I do a lot of work around police reform as well. So I'm really working really hard with some other entities and doing some dope work across different states and just trying to make certain that just universally we have better protections for people of color when it comes to law enforcement. And so my passion has always been children. It's always been education. I've always wanted to be a teacher. I used to play school when I was a little girl growing up in a Fisher, right? So I knew very early on that my life was going to be dedicated to educating people. If you know me from the beginning, you know that my life took it a 360 turn. BJ might know a little bit more than Drea knows, or than Aaron knows. BJ is a little bit older than me, but all I did was fight. That's all I did. I didn't fuss. I didn't talk. I just smacked you.
I didn't argue.
And so I I take great pride in making certain that people understand that you are not your mistakes. And that's what I tell my children all the time. You can be whatever you want to be in this life. It's really up to you. And I use my life as an example because I did grow up with a mother that was on crack and a father that was absent in the Fisher Project, with my grandmother, with all of my cousins in the same apartment. But my grandmother very early on made me understand the value of love and how she looked after my mother, because my mother was addicted to drugs, but she was still my mother. And I can remember my grandmother picking up the slack for the things that my mother couldn't do. But I give all gratitude and all honor to the people I met at CAR, all of my coaches. They helped me morph into the woman you see right now. And that is where that village mentality comes from. And so every time you hear me talk about the village, it's not just a hashtag. I really wholeheartedly believe in it. I don't think that any of us can be where we are by ourselves, and we all had some help getting where we are. And I think it's our duty to reach back and bring people up, instead of criticizing them, instead of pointing out what they're not doing. All we have to do is look at them and see what we can do to fill that gap and kind of move them forward. And I think about that being, an educator as well. I don't talk down on principals or teachers. I just try to look at them and say, listen, I'm available. If you want my help, I'll help you. But I'm also not all knowing. I don't know everything. What I do know is my heart is good, and that's where I'm at with it. That's me in a nutshell. This is just pure passion for wanting to see Black children succeed in a way that the system has already counted them out. And I need them to know that they are somebody already, and they can be more than they could ever dream of if all we do is love on them instead of criticize them and point out their flaws. If we push them to past their potential and get them to see beyond their circumstance, they can blow our minds. And that's just how I feel. And that is how I lead. That is how I educate. That is how I live my life. So that's just me in a nutshell, y'all.
Yes, ma'am.
If you would.
Man, that's some tough introductions to follow. I'm honestly just honored to be on a panel with so many committed and dedicated educators, not just to the profession of education, but also to the children here in the city of New Orleans. My name is Dr. Edward Brown. Everybody pretty much knows me better as BJ. I haven't grown up as BJ yet, but it's something that I'm working.
I definitely just said Dr. BJ Brown.
I'm working
Sorry.
with that. No, I love it. I think eventually it'll be Dr. B or Dr. BJ or something like that, but it does,
Whatever it is, we'll know. We'll find you.
So pretty much I'm a career educator, born and raised and educated here in the city of New Orleans. Obviously, you guys know I'm a graduate of Edna Carr, went on to Nicholls State. I played football there and graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree. Came home, began working at Carr as a coach and as a teacher. Started the master's program at Southern here in New Orleans and completed that degree in urban education. And eventually started a doctoral program at the University of Holy Cross. Recently graduated from that program in executive leadership. And that's just, full circle with my educational background. I've been in education. This is my 21st year. I've served as a teacher, taught special education, honors classes, served as AP principal, and I've been in the principal position for about 14 of my 21 years in education. Recently started a consulting firm called Urban Excellence, where we not only focus on just the instructional framework of charter schools, but also organizational assessments, curriculum implementation, leadership coaching. That is an area that I've branched off into. In the back, you can see Urban Excellence Schools. We are currently in the pipeline to be approved to operate as a CMO here in the city, where we can operate schools and manage
Absolutely.
schools here in the city. So you guys send a few prayers up for your boy. We're hard to get approval in that area. I think we have a really good plan, really good system to implement where we can really prioritize our children here in the city, and also just make sure we have quality instruction, quality teaching going on within our buildings.
That's amazing, BJ.
Thank you.
Okay, 21 years. It's your lucky year. This is your lucky year. Okay. That's a blessing though. And what stands out is that you put urban in the title. Straight up. There's gonna be no confusion about it. Let there be no confusion, right? And so many of our children identify with acceptance.
And it's about just being intentional about the work that we do, the kids that we service, the organizations that we decide to partner with. I think that, with the transition in the education landscape in the city, we see so many challenges, so many things that we feel that just at the core of us is not right. I just want to make sure as an organization, we continue to highlight those things and continue to put our children first as we, just continue to build the infrastructure of the city, not just the city, but the educational profession here in the city. So that is our focus. That's my goal. That's what my passion has been since I started in education 21 years ago. And here we are.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'm really humbled and honored to be a part of this panel with so many dope educators. I didn't know, Kimmy, you did bios. I would have asked you to do my bio.
Right. Well, I had to buy her drinks first. The Kimmy.
It's weird calling myself Dr. Joseph Jones, but Holly Grove. I grew up in Holly Grove, and then I moved to the West Bank. My dad's from the West Bank, my mom's from Holly Grove. So went to Paul Lawrence Dunbar Elementary School, which is true in Denmark. Graduated from Higgins, went to Xavier, got my bachelor's from Xavier. Similar to you, Erin, I went to Atlanta for college and saw Black Gold. Had the opportunity to go to Morehouse, but decided New Orleans was the place for me. I love home, and so finished at Xavier kindergarten. I remember saying when I grew up, I wanted to be a teacher. And so I'm an alpha, so through my fraternity, we did a mentorship program with KIPP Renaissance at the time and really built really great relationships with these boys, Patrick Wilson and Joshua Williams. Did special education, taught physics. I just eventually became a dean, grade level chair, became an assistant principal, and am now honored to be the principal of the legendary John F. Kennedy High School. And so thank you for having me on this panel. I'm honored to be amongst so many dope Black people that is doing this work and is passionate about this.
Yes, y'all. Yes, I appreciate y'all. Listen.
Well, what I'm seeing with new teachers is that, especially teachers who are just getting out of certification or programs, they are so excited to be with children or inside of a classroom. They're like, I just want to do this. I want to teach virtually. I want to be in the classroom if I have to be. If we have to separate our children 6 feet away from each other, I'm going to make this work, because real educators are really about just new teacher joy. And all of us can remember what new teacher joy was like when we had our very own classroom. On the opposite end, when you look at teachers who have been in the game maybe 3 or 4 years already, or within 10 years, those are the teachers who tend to be not as flexible, because they're just afraid of the learning curve. For all of us, it is something different to be able to teach via Google Classroom or Zoom or whatever it is. And you have a lot of us, they're just afraid of the buttons. This is new. Like, how am I going to manage all my kids? How am I going to make sure everybody gets here? How am I going to do this math problem and I can't do it in front of the board? So their learning curve is learning new ways.
What decision did you make for your family right now?
I think everybody in the city know I chose virtual. I think everybody knows that, but I chose virtual, but I think Andrea and I think our children are actually the same age, as a matter of fact. My son is 14 in the 9th grade. And the beauty in virtual for him is he's less dependent on me than, say, a kindergartner would be. So there's a blessing in just watching him, take the responsibility of his schedule and logging on and getting up. There's a beauty in that for me.
Yeah. Yes.
There's a beauty in that for me, but I do understand the growing pains for parents who may have multiple children, different age groups, and trying to navigate that system all by themselves. But what I would say to those parents is that is when you're supposed to lean on what we call village work. There are too many educators in our community. There are too many resources in our community that are available to us that we just don't know about. And so part of my job when you see me go live is to tell people what's out there. You know, and I tell them all the time, I'm always available. If I don't know the answer, I could always make a phone call and go get you. I didn't go and get a doctorate degree just to call myself Dr. Wyatt. I went and got a doctorate so I could uplift my community, because when you walk into a room and you just say Ashanta, it hits differently than if I walk into a room and say Dr. Wyatt. It's so funny because some people still don't know Dr. Wyatt is Ashanta. So they feel a way about Ashanta, but they love Dr. Wyatt, and they have not put together that she's the same person. Yes, I think I'm misunderstood a lot by people who don't necessarily know me, but the beauty in me is I really don't give a damn well, because when Black men do well, Black boys do well. That's all I care about. And until people really figure that out about me, they're going to continue to struggle to think they know me. But I'm all about lifting people, especially our people, because we've had a rough go at life over 400 years. We've had a rough go at it, and so I think if we love on each other a little bit harder, we can compensate for all of the disservice that happens to us. And so I think we have to stop infighting and start pooling our resources and uplifting community so our children can do better, and by product the community will do better. And so for me, virtual was the only way. And I went to the school board and I went to the state, and I told everybody our only goal in the state of Louisiana is to ensure that children get 177 days of instruction. You could literally start school in January and still get 177 days. I've already done the math, right? And so this idea of pushing us too early, I was uncomfortable with. It's just not safe. You know, people, particularly teachers, a lot of them have underlying issues already that they can't afford to mix with COVID. Why would I advocate for pushing teachers back into a building where they can compromise their health and their safety to further, exacerbate the problem of the teacher shortage? And for children, I just didn't see a reason for pushing us right now. It's something to supplement until we figure out how to go back into the buildings in a safe way.
The kids are going home to someone, right? Their parents probably have pre-existing conditions, grandparents, which we always see in our school system, students being raised by their grandparents or some guardian that's of age, right? So we have to keep that in mind, and I just think that it makes it difficult to set dates around or deadlines around schools returning to face-to-face instruction. It is around politics, and that's why some educators have been silenced. A lot of parent feedback and input have not been taken into consideration. It just makes for a messy plan, right? A plan that can potentially have several pitfalls that can impact people in significant ways. So I just think that, in my opinion, we just have to do a better job of communicating with the educators, taking into full consideration like the health and well-being of everybody involved. Because at the end of the day, truly, that's what education is about, right? It's about bettering lives and putting people in position to have, just be productive citizens in society. And I think when we make this a political issue or about monetary benefits, it takes away from long-range thinking. Virtual education has to be an option, right? Now that it's here and it's our reality, that has to be at the forefront of our thinking. Anything we do moving forward has to involve a component of virtual learning.
My advice to parents and stakeholders is be informed. I think there's a lot of things that's happening that that affects you and your children. And I think you guys entrust teachers with your most precious cargo. And so I want to make sure that you utilize the resources out there or find the resources out there or continue pushing and holding people accountable to your kids.
I want to say, coming from more of an ESL background, as far as my teaching goes, in school, we're taught a lot. Everything we do is physical and creative and very hands-on, because that's how you teach foreign language to people. That's how you should teach foreign language, though in the US, we do not get taught like that. But when we're teaching language, this is how we teach. And I think that if teachers out there need help with those things, they should reach out to people like us. We're used to having tools and showing instead of saying, and there are a lot of techniques that you necessarily don't learn in a regular education degree that we're taught in a foreign language. Say just be creative and hang in there, because it's rough for all of us in different ways, but it's also beautiful for all of us in different ways.
The biggest thing that I want to tell parents is that, just like you said, because it is day one for all of us, is to really be patient with yourself and to understand, and just to really be gentle with yourself as well, because we are not expecting you to be at home teaching Common Core. It's not your super talent. It's just not. And that's okay. But because you don't have those skills, it's time for you all to communicate. And so I want parents to really take the time and organize themselves so that they can stay in constant communication with the teachers. One, the teacher who spends her time, developing these lessons for your baby, and also administration, just so that you always know what's going on.
Like instead of pointing out everything that somebody's doing wrong, we just have to come to the table with what we can do to advance us. And if we're talking from a city standpoint, I think if I had to speak directly to LaToya Cantrell, it is her duty to lock this city down, to get this curve flattened so that teachers and essential workers could actually go back to work and move the economy the way that they wanted to move so children can go back to school. But unless and until the curve is flattened, we're going to continue to do this month after month, trying to figure out, oh, this is when we're going to go back, and then that date changes because the numbers are escalating. And so I think when we want to put children and people over profit, we have to lock the city down and stop thinking about all of the money we're losing and thinking about all of the lives that are going to be lost if we continue to recklessly plan and do things that are not conducive to the holistic needs of the city.
Parents that are passionate, but they're not as informed as they should be when they're approached. At the same time, the more research that you do, the more questions that you ask, the further that you persevere, I promise you'll find the answers. And you'll be able to peel back some of the obstacles that are preventing your child from being successful specifically. So in these unknown times, don't be intimidated by the school or virtual learning or some of the terminology that we use in education. Educate yourself. Advocate for all children that attends the same school as your child. Like Ashanta said, it's that village approach. We all are better when everyone is performing at a high level. And it weakens the community when we are not informed or we're chasing the wrong goals, right? As far as educators, perception is everything, right? You can look at the COVID pandemic as a challenge, or you can look at it as an opportunity to sharpen your tools, be on the cutting edge of technology and instructional practices, and also be very innovative in your own development, because this won't go anywhere for a while. Just moving forward in the future trajectory of education, you can make yourself a critical asset in this profession. So the work that we've been doing around virtual learning and supporting parents and teachers, I just encourage you all to continue to press forward, build community. Let's lean on each other. Let's make sure that we are the most informed professionals in this area, because ultimately our kids are going to benefit, our families are going to benefit, and we're going to broaden our professional spectrum as far as our capacity as leaders in the community and the profession of education.
We have to have representation everywhere. We can't. There's only one. You only have your classroom. You only have your group of people. We have to find where our niche is and get in there. So then I can call up BJ when I'm, go and talk to somebody and City Hall about y'all. It's the village work. I think it's great. I think that's a perfect way to explain what this is. I truly appreciate y'all for spending this time today. Discussing what this feels like and being brave enough to talk about it. We have to follow your lead, so we appreciate you. I'm happy I got to spend a Saturday with so many doctors and nothing be wrong with me, God willing. But I'm pumped. There's a little, But yes, y'all, thank you. I appreciate
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
We appreciate you. Bye, guys. Thank you.